For me personally.
Okay, guys.
I think I
Let's
kind of
do
like
this.
the way
You
it
all
feels.
ready?
Yeah, Kev, we have
Mihal,
no,
take a half a step backwards.
we've no monitors in here, Kev. We can't see anything.
I can't hear you, Janice. Can you speak louder?
Can I speak louder? Yes, we have no monitors in here, Kevin. We can't see what we look like or where we are.
Yeah,
Just
it
so
will
you
come
know.
up soon.
Okay,
Cool.
cool. Is this chair okay? Because I'm not sure if it's in shot or not.
Well, you'll find out.
We will find out. And I'll have to do one of those awkward moves, and then it catches me on camera, and I'm like,
There you go.
Okay, here we go.
Thank
Everybody
you,
ready?
Kevin. Yes.
Everybody stand by. Test. Mihal, take a half step backwards. You're in Genesis shot. All right, let's do this. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Live from the TheatreMaker.ie studio in Axis Ballymun. On tonight's episode of Stage Door Live, we'll be hitting the hot topics with David Francis Moore and African O'Rourke. I will then be joined by Philip Doherty to chat about Phoebe and their residency at Antibes. And finally, our panel will be completed by Romy Karanyas for the big debate on language. This is Stage Door Live for the 11th of August, 2021.
Stand by.
On tonight's episode of Stage Door Live.
So it's a mixture thing. So what we're
with Horticulture Union.
Gave me a bit of time, gave me a bit of space, I think, to think.
Which is crucial to our identity.
Janice de Bruyne. Thanks to the support of Axis Ballymun and Dublin City Council, we're broadcasting from the TheatreMaker.ie studio at Axis Ballymun, part of the Axis Media Hub. We've got a great show for you tonight, but before all that, let's take a look at the top news stories from Mihal at Irish Theatre this week. Take it away, Mihal.
Thanks, Janice. We've had one of the busiest news days ever here at TheatreMaker.hq, so let's dive right in.
Continue.
In terribly exciting news, Dublin Theatre Festival announced their programme just yesterday. DTF is taking place from the 30th of September until the 17th of October this year. Some shows also have previews in the run-up, not to the official festival dates. Not only is there a great number of full productions in their programme, their Festival Plus programme also features works in progress, artistic development and networking, critical events, tours and installations, and a book launch. We'll have more on this programme later in the show. Last week, Electric Picnic had its licence refused. However, Laois County Council Chairman Conor Bergen revealed Electric Picnic organisers can reapply for a new licence to hold a 3-day festival. Promoters Festival Republic and MCD wanted to run the festival at full capacity between the 24th and 26th of September. Plans were to allow 70,000 people to attend the festival. Last Wednesday evening, the council decided to pull the plug on the September event, citing public health advice available from the HSE as motivating the decision. Rules are currently limited the number of people of organised outdoor events to 500 at venues with capacity in excess of 5,000. Council Chairman Conor Bergen said in theory, festival organisers can reapply for a new licence to stage the event, but could not host the original number of people it had hoped for. No acts had been announced by Electric Picnic prior to the cancellation. In contrast to this rule of 500 per 5,000 plus, Croke Park held 24,000, approximately a quarter of its capacity, last Sunday. That same day, 50 people were allowed to attend the Gaiety, which seats 2,000. Meanwhile, just a 90-minute journey north, A concert with 5,000 attendees took place in Belfast. Last night saw the return of live music with 5,000 people attending a Tom Jones headlining, supported by the High Kings. Organisers of this concert said they were disappointed to hear of the decision to refuse Electric Picnic permission to go ahead. Everyone attending the concerts at Belfast Custom House Square had to sit a negative antigen test or show that they are fully vaccinated or fully recovered from the virus. Organisers of this concert also cited the outdoor events being allowed to go ahead in Croke Park. 40,000 spectators will be all permitted entry to both All-Ireland senior hurling and football finals at Croke Park this month, nearly half of its capacity of 82,300. Electric Picnic also cited on their Twitter that music enthusiasts in the Republic of Ireland can easily travel to Northern Ireland to attend concerts. More on all this later with Janice. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has published its stark report today, claiming major climate changes are now irreversible and inevitable. According to the report, human activities are worsening the effects of climate change, which are widespread, rapid, and intensifying. The report by leading climate scientists provides evidence that unless there are immediate, rapid, and large-scale reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, limiting warming to close to 1.5 degrees or 2 degrees will be beyond reach. In 2019, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was higher than at any point over the last 2 million years, according to the Landmark report. The first report of its type since 2013, it comes 3 months after the COP26 in Glasgow, where international leaders are to meet and negotiate climate agreements. Minister for the Environment, Eamon Ryan, has said that doing nothing is not an option, and that the first step for reducing the impact of climate change will be the elimination of fossil fuels. Sticking with climate change, Greek wildfires rage on across the country as the country finds itself in the midst of its worst heatwave in 30 years. More than 2,000 people have been evacuated, with elderly residents carried onto ferries. Local officials said more help was needed into fighting the fires that have destroyed parts of the island. The EU has said that it was mobilising one of its biggest responses to tackle the wildfires affecting Greece and a number of other European nations. Greece and neighbouring Turkey have been battling devastating blazes for nearly 2 weeks as the region suffers its worst heatwave in decades. Temperatures have risen to 45 degrees Celsius, with scientists saying human-induced climate change is making heatwaves more likely and more severe. Kelly Harrington took home gold to Portland Row after defeating Brazilian fighter Beatriz Ferreira in the women's lightweight final in Tokyo on Sunday. Councillors in Dublin wanted to arrange a safe but spectacular return for Harrington as she returned to Dublin yesterday, but did not warrant for any formal welcome. That being said, celebrations have been well underway for the Dublin fighter in her native Portland Row since Sunday morning. The spectacular bunting, colours and flags remain all over the streets of Portland Row from her victory lap around Dublin yesterday. It is the 11th all-time gold for Ireland and their second at these games, with Paula Donovan and Fintan McCarthy also securing gold in the lightweights men's double sculls.
Go.
The low uptake on vaccines by pregnant women and their partners has delayed the lifting of maternity restrictions, according to the Master of the Rotunda. The maternity restrictions will be lifted once there is a considerable uptake in vaccinations among mothers and their partners. Professor Fergal Malone said in the hospital only 39% of inpatients and 41% of partners have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Amid criticism of restrictions on partners attending maternity hospitals, fresh HSE guidance was issued to maternity hospitals last week, saying partners can accompany pregnant women for their 12-week scans and for caesarean sections. It said that the aim of the new guidance was to try to return to the pre-pandemic visiting rights, and that partners who were incorrectly denied entry in hospitals recently had received apologies. The Rotunda, the oldest maternity hospital in the world, is currently allowing partners to attend early pregnancy scanning up to 12 weeks and anomaly scans, but said it cannot accommodate unrestricted visiting at other times.
Your life.
Congratulations to Dermot Bulger, the winner of the 2021 Lawrence O'Shaughnessy Poetry Prize in 2021, awarded at St. Thomas University Centre for Irish Studies in Canada. Dermot Bulger is known for his many novels, but also his plays, which include an adaptation of Joyce's Ulysses and the most recently Last Orders at the Dockside. Both of these plays were staged at the Abbey. Extra matinee tickets were added for Druids the Seagull, actor Chekhov. In-person tickets were added for the Thursdays and the 12th and the 19th, and Saturdays the 14th and 21st. However, Thursdays 19th and Saturdays 21st matinees are now sold out. Tickets can be booked in groups of 4 on Druid's website. The Bord Gáis Energy Theatre recently held its first live performance in 18 months, featuring music by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. West Side Story remains one of the most popular musicals of all time. With a cast of 20 and a crew of 71, there were more people backstage and nearly twice as many in the whole production than there were in the audience. There were 2 shows in one day with an audience of 50 at each performance. Seating 2,100 people, the Bord Gáis Energy Theatre would rank as the 4th largest London West End theatre and exceeds the capacity of all New York Broadway theatres. This put the West Side Story audience at 2% of the theatre's capacity. Last week, it was announced that Broadway shows would not be reporting grosses. Broadway shows that will not be publicly reporting grosses for the 2021 to 2022 season, the Broadway League said Monday. The decision was made based on many factors, according to the League, but includes the staggered rollout of returning and new productions and anticipated variations in performance schedules. This means the season's grosses could not be easily compared to past seasons. The League plans to report grosses for the 2022 to 2023 Broadway season. November 2020, Broadway League President Charlotte St. Martin said the Broadway League would not publish grosses if the industry did not have a full season. A full season usually includes 52 weeks running from the first week of June through the end of May of the following year. The practice of publicly reporting grosses is involuntary on behalf of the productions, but has traditionally been followed by most Broadway shows. Individual shows could still choose their own release based on box office numbers. The Broadway League, formerly the League of American Theatres and Producers and League of New York Theatres and Producers, is the national trade association for the Broadway theatre industry. Members include theatre owners and operators, producers, presenters, and general managers. Founded in 1930 primarily to counter ticket speculation and scalping, the Broadway League has expanded its mission and programs over time. In addition to negotiating labor agreements with 14 unions in New York City and engaging in lobbying initiatives throughout the country, the League recognizes excellent works and artists through award programs such as the Tony Awards. Sarah Frankum has stepped down as the director of LAMDA, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. This action amid allegations from former staff that she fostered a toxic atmosphere at the drama school that led to the resignation of a number of teachers. Benedict Cumberbatch, president and alumnus of the school, welcomed Sarah Frankum as the new director in February 2019. Last Monday, Minister Martin announced the opening date for the new strand of the Music and Entertainment Business Assistance Scheme and the further extension of the closing date for the MEBIS 1 scheme until the 30th of September. The new scheme will provide grants for smaller businesses that did not have access to the original scheme by lowering the turnover threshold to €15,000. Businesses with turnovers of between €15,000 and €20,000 will be able to apply for grants of €1,500 towards their business costs. Minister Martin has also announced awards and capital grants of over €1.46 million to 11 arts and culture organisations for upgrading and development of their facilities. This funding is provided under Stream B of the Cultural Capital Scheme 2019 to 2022 that will focus on enhancing the existing stock of arts and culture centres throughout the country. The scheme prioritises projects that reduce an organisation's carbon footprint that will make a real and positive impact on the environment. Under the scheme, self-employed businesses, including musicians, singers, lighting and sound crew, and audio equipment suppliers operating exclusively within the commercial live entertainment sector, are eligible to apply. Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, the Arts Council of Northern Ireland publishes a report titled Evidencing Need. It provides evidence of the immediate needs for a support fund for the individual artists. The Arts Council worked with the Department for Communities and with the Ministerial Cultural Recovery Task Force Group and produced a report which was published earlier this month. According to the report, there is immediate financial insecurity for those working in the creative industries, and career and skills development have been negatively affected. There's a significant risk that the talent pool of artists and the creatives necessary for the overall creative ecosystem will leave Northern Ireland to find alternative work. This will take the sector years to recover from. The chair of the Arts Council of Northern Ireland, Liam Hannaway, said that in a statement that the £30 million additional support from the UK government will meet only some of the need and should be released through grant programmes to the sector as a matter of urgency. Earlier today, Arts Council Director Maureen Kennelly and Chair Kevin Rafter launched Culture Night EA Culture 2021. On Friday the 17th of September, we will be able to choose between a wide range of events that put a spotlight on the quality and breadth of Ireland's existing cultural offerings and institutions. This year, as part of the work of the Nighttime Economy Task Force, the Arts Council is piloting a number of late-night events around the country to support the development of a more vibrant and sustainable nighttime economy. These events are taking place in Dublin, Cork and Galway.
I don't know what the hell this is.
Paused.
Locked down with our lives on hold.
But that time wasn't wasted.
It was a chance to simplify, to energize,
to nourish our creative souls,
and to quietly dream of great new beginnings.
While we waited to emerge from the shadows, shaking off the safety nets.
And ready to live, to really live again.
For all the world's a stage.
And we are the players.
We are the creators.
We are the music makers.
It's more than the scree of Nori.
We are the artists.
We are the athletes.
We are the dreamers.
The time has come.
Let us awaken.
Let us show the world.
Seo could have mean magic dancer.
This is how we dance.
Coming to you early. Go.
For more information on Culture Night, check out culturenight.ie. Booking is now open for the second Scenographia Masterclass from the Irish Society of Stage and Screen Designers and Project Arts Centre. You can join online for eco-scenography and to learn about Max Story's Model Box Library project and waste in production design. It will be taking place this day week, Wednesday the 18th of August at 7 p.m. It's free, but you need to register in advance to attend. The application deadline for the Lyric Theatre's Belfast Drama Studio is this Friday. Drama Studio is a 14-week course of workshops on Saturdays and Tuesday evenings for 18 to 25-year-olds. It's a rigorous, intensive and demands a lot of commitment, but most people agree it's very well worth it. It's rigorous, intensive and intensive demands a lot of commitment, but most of it. The Lyric supports Drama Studio members to apply for drama schools. In the last 8 years, over 65 have got places in Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, Memphew, East 15, RADA, the Lear, Guildhall, the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, Arts Ed and the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire. The closing date is Friday the 13th of August 2021. And now, over to Blue with what's happening at Dublin Theatre Festival this week.
Announced just this week is the Dublin Theatre Festival programme. DTF is taking place from the 30th of September until the 17th of October this year. Not only is there a great number of full productions in their programme, but also works in progress, artistic development and networking, critical events, tours and installations, and a book launch.
Welcome back. It's been a long time. We've missed you.
We've been imagining.
Making plans.
Getting ready.
Staying at home and doing our bit. We've tried our best to stay connected.
There's nothing like the feeling when we're in the room together.
It feels so good to be live again.
Dublin Theatre Festival is currently offering 30 shows as part of its programme of productions. General online booking for these events opens at 12 p.m. on Tuesday, the 24th of this month. However, priority booking is already currently open to friends of the festival. Some shows that you may already be familiar with from our programming include Pan Pan's The First Bad Man and Company SJ and Abbey Theatre's Beckett's Craig Leighantha Sunna, a translation of Beckett's Happy Days. Pan Pan's show is a live performance based on a reading of The First Bad Man, a novel by Miranda July. This is a 5-part performance made up of 5 distinct 60-minute episodes where every night is an opening night. Each performance can be enjoyed as a standalone event, but audience members are encouraged to attend more than one if you can afford the time. Tickets are available for Wednesday the 6th until Sunday the 17th of October. Company SJ's Leighantha Sunna will be taking place in Irish from Thursday the 14th until Sunday the 17th of October. And in her first production as artistic director of the Abbey Theatre, Katrina McLaughlin reunites with Marina Carr for the world premiere of iGirl. iGirl stars Alwyn Ferrere, who's acted in Marina Carr's By the Bog of Cats. There's also a number of works in progress taking place, such as Dove by Felly Speaks. Dove is a work-in-progress collaborative theatre production exploring the black body using the themes of repression, sexuality, grief and joy. The texts written by Felly Speaks invite audiences to receive Dove as an offering of healing for the inner child. Another work in progress, the Mincare Manifesto by Mortine McInvard, will also be performed. Mincare is the shelter word for traveller. The Mincare Manifesto is the story of one family in the west of Ireland and the return home of a son who's alienated from their traditions after years of deliberate absence. The topic of death is explored throughout. Parallel to all of these shows are some installations, exhibitions and a book launch. Join other DTFers celebrating the publication of Ronan Smith's memoir, If Memory Serves Me Wrong, a memoir of theatre, love and loss to early onset Alzheimer's. Written in real time, a first-hand account of living with dementia and a life spent in the theatre. It will be taking place in the Gaiety, 5 p.m. on the 1st of October. Some events we mentioned the last few weeks include workshops such as Forecast, a School of Thinking with and the Playwright Sessions. Some critical events will be taking place such as Demystifying Activism in the Arts, The Danger of a Single Story. Hosted by Mamobo Ogoro, this discussion will discuss with artists, activists and scholars whether single narratives and stories truly capture the essence of different communities, or do they form a single representation of multidimensional beings and communities. This event is supported by the Dublin Theatre Festival Futures programme. It will be viewable on Dublin Theatre Festival's YouTube, Tuesday the 12th of October at 6 p.m. There will also be a podcast, a walk through Dublin history, available from the 30th of September, marking the beginning of the festival. Urbanist and tour guide Sam Ford explains the fascinating histories of Dublin theatre. This audio walking tour meanders through 3.5 centuries of performance in the city, from candlelit riverside revels to this year's festival and various rides and ruptures in between.
Stand by, David.
The audio walking tour can be experienced both by listening to Sam guide you through the Dublin city and as a podcast. The podcast will be available from September wherever you get your podcasts. As always, we want to hear from you. What news items did we miss? What do you want to hear more about? Send us your press releases and suggestions to news@theatremaker.ie or drop into our DMs on social media. That's it for the news. Back to you, Janice.
1, your life.
We have an exclusive interview coming up with the artistic director of Dublin Theatre Festival, Willie White, before our feature story, so stay tuned. Before moving on, I'd like to take a moment to remind you that the theatremaker.ie team needs your help to keep the conversations going. During the month of August, we're asking for your support to help our mission in promoting conversations in the sector and making news and information freely available. And by support, we mean we need your money. We've set up a special page on our website, www.theatremaker.ie, where you can pledge your support and show how important theatremaker.ie is to you. If you can't help financially right now, that's grand. But if you could take a moment to share our request for support with 5 of your friends, that's really helpful too. Thanks in advance for your support.
Stand by.
Now it's time for us to delve into this week's hot topics. Every week we invite 2 guests to join me in picking through the latest breaking news topics, the good, the bad, and the downright grisly. Don't forget, as we troll through the headlines, we want to hear from you watching at home, so please be sure to pop your thoughts in the comments below. Before we get to those headlines, allow me to introduce our first 2 guests. Joining us virtually, cultural producer, arts programmer and lecturer, David Francis Moore, and joining me in studio, Irish language and project coordinator for Access Ballymun, Aifreacht Ní Rourke. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Good to see you, David. How are you?
Hi, good.
And how are you? Good. How are things with you, Aifreacht?
Brilliant. Busy but good. Always good to be busy.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. I think everybody's a bit manic at the moment. We're all in the same boat. This is the first time we've had an in-studio guest and a virtual guest at the same time, so please bear with me. So let's get to it. Electric Picnic being refused their licence. As you heard in the news earlier with Micheál, Laois County Council issued a press release stating that they had made the decision to refuse the licence for Electric Picnic to go ahead. They said that the decision had been made following the most up-to-date public health advice from the HSE, and this just one day after the festival organisers had released 12 reasons why Electric Picnic 2021 should go ahead, including the fact that thousands of people are travelling to the UK for similar events, that our vaccination rate is higher than the UK, and that the music industry has essentially been closed for over 500 days and is still pretty much closed. Now, we did hear that the chairperson of the council, Conor Bergen, clarified that technically the festival could reapply for a licence, but that they'd have to take into account, under current government measures for the management of COVID-19, events of this nature are restricted to an attendance of 500 people only. So, was the council right to refuse the licence? Aifreacht, I'm going to come to you first. What do you think?
Such a big question. Thanks for that torpedo straight at me. Obviously, it's very complicated. I think, you know, a 60,000 to 70,000 person festival is a big jump from what we're going to. It's painful. It is painful to look at the UK and to see how far ahead of us they are in terms of reopening. I can't say whether they're right or wrong. I'm not a COVID expert, but I find it very disappointing. I know how important Electric Picnic is, not just as a music festival, but also as an arts festival, how much it supports spoken word poets. There's readings, plays, there's performances. It's so important to us as an industry, so it is incredibly disappointing to have another year. And it's just one disappointment after another for the arts industry. So whether they're right or wrong, I can't say, but I can say it's a decision I wish hadn't happened, and I wish we're all heading off to Electric Picnic.
Yeah, absolutely. David, what do you think about this? Were they right, or do you think there could have been a little bit more maybe negotiation between the council and the organisers of the festival?
I mean, it's really hard to say, and like what Aifreacht said, I'm not a COVID expert either, and I don't work for the local authority, and I don't know what restrictions they're working in and responding to, but I mean, it's a huge disappointment, yet again, another disappointment to the sector in terms of large-scale events. Large-scale events doesn't even not go that big anymore. Can we get a few hundred people in a room? Any scale event really going ahead, and also the change in the lines are changing all the time, and it's really hard to keep on top of. And you know what, this has a huge social impact in terms of, you know, audiences coming to events, but it has an even bigger impact in terms of the arts community, the local economy, even in Laois. They'll be feeling it. I'm sure it's a massive event in their calendar in the year, and most importantly to the artists, you know, who are programmed as part of this. It's such a loss, and a loss again this year. So, I mean, I want to go to Electric Picnic. So, but I'm just one person.
Absolutely, and as you both kind of alluded to there, there's so much more to Electric Picnic than just the musicians. Anybody who's ever been will know this, the amount of community groups that come on and do things, the theatre that happens, and as well all the related industries that go with it. Festival organisers have come out since talking about what a crushing blow it is to around 3,000 people who are now out of work, people who've been out of work for the last 2 years nearly, certainly since before COVID. Do you think that they've taken into account that fact that it's actually not just about the musicians when it comes to Electric Picnic? Afric?
No, and I think that, crew have really been overlooked again and again throughout all of this. And it's been so difficult for them. I don't know really. Well, I can't answer whether or not they've thought about that, but they haven't thought about it as much as they should have, for sure, absolutely. And I think crew have been so vulnerable and are so integral to everything that we do. It is just another disappointment for them, and I think there's also kind of ramifications this time around. Recently, people were told it was their last chance to sign on for PUP, and they either had to sign on for it or not, and if they weren't at a certain point, they can't now sign on. So if those people had signed off on the understanding that this would happen, and I hope that isn't what has happened, because I know it wasn't approved, there would be PUP ramifications for them. So there's a lot to think about at this stage. We're nearly 2 years into this.
Certainly, you bring up a really salient point there, David. I'm going to come to you on this because that is a really harsh reality here that we know, as you said, Afric, that the PUP scheme is essentially coming to an end, and there will be people now who were thinking, it's grand, I've got Electric Picnic booked, that's a solid amount of money, and now they're facing down the barrel of not just losing the work, but not being able to sign on for the PUP as well. What should the government be doing about this, if anything? Like, what can they do?
Well, they need to focus on the sector and see the difficulties that we're facing, and particularly crew and freelance workers, and put some things in place that's going to support continuing financial support for the sector and especially for the freelance people. It's just what Afric said. It's last year we were dealing with it. It was, we were 12 months in. This year, it's just worsening and worsening for people. And I just don't know. It's just a desperate situation, really.
Just making sure you can.
And unless something's kind of done, or we start to open up events, or to really look at the sector, the entertainment sector,
Philip, are you able
cultural
to
sector,
tilt your camera down just a little bit so your head's near the top?
Deep conversation, look at the reality of the situation, and see how we can open up capacity and get people back to work.
I'll be with you shortly.
That's really what needs to happen.
Certainly, it does feel like the government is maybe a little bit gun-shy at the moment, and they seem to be incredibly hesitant to reopen. Even in light of people like Professor Luke O'Neill wrote an article for the Irish Independent stating that in his opinion as an immunologist, that the festival should go ahead and that really the government need to start looking at the reopening. Should they be listening to people like Luke O'Neill, Afric?
I think they should be listening to everybody. When we speak on behalf of an industry, it's because it's important and because we want you to hear it. I know a lot of people, like we were just talking about crew there, who aren't working anymore and who've gone on and have got different jobs. I know people who were working in factories and who've had to take other work. So when you hear that they're advised, it's disappointing. Again, I can't say what's right and what's not right, but at the very least, I feel like we should be able to have more than 50 people indoors and more than 200 outdoors. Whether it is that we go straight back to Electric Picnic, which has loads of other ramifications with camping and so on, or whether we at least open that up again a little bit. There's so much that's being lost, not just performances, but also really important things like community arts. At the moment, the theatre can be open for 50 people, but you can't host an indoor event or class. So, for example, if you're running a project and a lot of our work is community projects, and a lot of all artists' work is, you can't have, a group of young mothers in to work on an arts project at the moment. You can't develop that kind of work. So what's at the core of what we all do as artists isn't happening right now. So electric picnic, that might be the bigger picture. That's the big story that everybody sees, but it's happening again and again all over the country in lots of little small ways. And yeah, the arts are important. I think they do need to listen to us and they do need to reopen.
Absolutely. And you bring me to my next point very neatly. That, okay, yes, Electric Picnic is this massive event. So of course it's taking up space in our conversations and on the news. But in the reality right now is that even the small and medium gigs, the bread and butter of the industry, is not allowed to go ahead. David, do you have thoughts on that? Like, should we be talking more about those smaller things rather than the Electric Picnics of the world?
It's not that we should be pitching them against each other or comparing. Everyone has their own agenda and their own priorities that they're focusing on, be it a large scale event, be it small to medium. I think overall, when we think of the vaccine, I suppose if you had said to me a year ago, when you, like, the view was you'd get your vaccine, most of the population get their vaccine, we'd get back to some level of normality, the country would open up and we'd be back to our gigs in no time, you know. We have had mass vaccination now. And what's really, really disappointing is the fact that we have gone through that process. We know that the numbers are rising. And at the same time, it doesn't seem to be opening up in the way that we thought it would. So, like, all my friends, my colleagues, 30, like, in around my age group, like, want to go to the festivals. But so how, like, we're all vaccinated now, or like all my friends are vaccinated. So this may sound silly or something, but I'm a bit like, okay, so like, when are we going to get to the festivals? When are we going to get to, like, the gigs? Because we got our vaccination. So can we just move on, please? But I suppose there's other considerations. But just to get back to your point about small to medium gigs. For me, we just need to, like, raise the bar in terms of numbers, start that dialogue, keep the dialogue going, but really be active and loud about what we want as a sector in terms of getting the numbers up, getting the audiences in. Theatres, small to medium gigs, inside, outside, in particular inside with theatres, because that's the area I work in. They are managed spaces. I know that, like, down in Visual here, like, we can manage more than 50 people. You know what I mean? We could, and they're safe environments. They're managed, masked up, hand sanitized. Let's get the gigs going. Let's get it ranked up again, and let's get theatre started up again. You know.
Definitely. I'm afraid we have to move on now to our next topic, but as I'm sure this will be an ever-evolving situation, you can keep up to date with all the Electric Picnic news by going to their website, electricpicnic.ie, where you'll also find the Luke O'Neill article published in full, and I would recommend you check it out. It's good food for thought. So on to our next, not entirely unrelated topic. The Gaiety fires shots. As you heard earlier in the news last Sunday, as the Irish National Opera were warming up for their matinee performance of The Dead, an opera at the Gaiety Theatre, they set Irish Twitter alight as they issued the following travel update. To the 50 people attending today's matinee at the Gaiety, please allow extra time to travel as there are 24,000 people travelling to Croke Park. #Save the Arts. The tweet has since had over 1,000 retweets and over 5,000 likes. It obviously struck a chord with a lot of people, myself included. I was one of those likes. There's clearly a lot of anger and frustration. Africa, I'll come to you first. Is this just everybody, getting frustrated, that feeling like sports is being prioritised yet again?
I think it's not so much the priority, and I don't want this to turn into sports versus arts. Like, they're both important parts of our culture, but what's frustrating is that inconsistency in rules. And that's what we're seeing in lots of aspects, and it is just this feeling that nobody has sat down and thought about it. So I would say I don't want to, as I said, all get our pitchforks out and go out to Croker, but it just feels like you're overlooked in lots of ways and not considered properly. It's, again, disappointing, We could definitely, as you said, we could hold more than 50 people, and we could definitely hold more than 200 people for outdoor events as well. So the 24,000, it's puzzling, it's disappointing, and it does feel inconsistent. All the rules, they don't all make sense.
I think you've hit the nail on the head right there, and I will agree with you that actually I think in this instance it's not necessarily arts versus sports, as we're so often, we fall into that trap quite a lot, but it's the inconsistency of the rules. So David, then, do you think that it's they should be looking at these things in terms of scale. So obviously Croker holds what, like 80,000 people, but only 24,000 people were allowed to go. And yet in theatres, you're saying 50 people, regardless of the size. We've got the Bord Gáis there that's bigger, has a higher capacity than any theatre in New York, and yet they're only allowed hold 50 people. So it's that inconsistency, is it? And should they be looking at these things in terms of scale?
Absolutely. I think it's the way forward, to be honest. It's the only way we'll be able to increase numbers, is that, you look at the size of your venue and you do maybe on a percentage or something. Again, harping back to my previous comments, like, when are we going to get to the point where, like, mass vaccinations happen? When are we going to get to the point where we can start to engage in live events the way we had previously? So I think, it has to be done on scale. I think every venue in the country comes with their own size and their own, policies around how they're going to manage and make sure that they can control the environment and present safe events. I think that's what I mean when I say about further, discussion and dialogue, that, like, something has to happen here, because we're just at a standstill, really. So definitely in relation to the size of your venue should determine your capacity.
Certainly when you see that they're allowing 24,000 people into Croke Park, which is an organised outdoors event, and then at the same time they're saying that other organised outdoor events have to have a maximum of 500 people, you're kind of going, where's the logic in that? Afric, I'm going to finish with this on you. What do you think when can we bite this bullet? What are they waiting for?
I don't know. I feel like we can bite the bullet now. We're ready. It's interesting because, I have heard that, talk about capacity as well. And someone said maybe they'll change it from 50 to 25% capacity, which for us in Access would take us from 50 to 52. So that'd be really great for us. No, but at the moment, 4 nights in our theatre is equivalent to 1 night. And it's not a sustainable way for theatre to work. And we do need to look at ways to open the theatres, open all the venues back up. And as I said, not just theatre, it's not just about that aspect, it's also about all of the community engagement that we do. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. David, have you any further thoughts on that? Just building on Afric's point there around, looking at theatres and these art spaces being so much more than just the shows?
Yeah. I mean, even for us at Visual, we have a massive, engagement program, and we have been able to engage our community and our audiences through workshops, but it's on such a small scale. And in some respects, it's been really nice because you're looking at quality of engagement over, vast numbers of people. But at the same time, you want to engage as many people as you can, and the limitations on workshops and numbers is so restrictive, I think, at the moment as well. And we're finding that particularly difficult down here because we have such a broad engagement program, and we love seeing people come in, and we love hosting our workshops and developing work with our communities. And we're completely at a loss because of it.
Certainly, and I'm sure that this topic will definitely continue to be contentious for some time yet, I'm afraid. But that is all we have time for on this. Thank you so much, Afric and David, for coming in and speaking with me today on these hot topics. Of course, you will be back later in the show for our final segment, The Big Debate. A big thank you now to everyone who has supported us from the very beginning and each step along the way. If you like what we're doing and want to show us some love, you can also check out our store and get yourself some merch. Our store is filled with loads of brilliant Os Gaeilge products, all proceeds of which go directly to support the work we're doing here. We're posting a link in chat now, and it will also be in the description after the show. As we transition to our next segment, take a listen to our interview with Artistic Director of Dublin Theatre Festival.
Thank you, Willie White, for joining us from Dublin Theatre Festival. So this is very exciting. It's really nice to have you here, as the programme has just been announced, and it's a very ambitious festival programme with these ever-changing circumstances.
Hopefully the circumstances are changing for the better. We were devastated last year when just the weekend before the festival, Dublin went to level 5, so we had no indoor performances with live audiences. It's looking a lot more promising this year, although at the moment for audiences of up to 50 people if you can fit them in, so I'm hoping that there will be an improvement in those parameters before the festival kicks off.
Do you have anything particular in place for an expansion on 50 people?
Well, we have the venues, which we are underutilizing at the moment. So the space in the venues, if social distancing comes down, I mean, I expect people will still probably be wearing masks. I don't know that we're necessarily going to get into checking their vaccination status. So what we're looking for, I guess, is a reduction in social distancing, and perhaps maybe for vaccinated people, we'll see. I mean, to answer your question bluntly, in some cases we're getting even fewer than 50 people in, so that is not what the venues are designed for. It's the social distancing that's making it inefficient, quote unquote. So if that improves, and we also have to figure out what it will take to manage those numbers, what protocols need to be in place, but physics is what we have it on our side. There is more room for we can let more people in.
And on the note of 50 people specifically, do you have any particular thoughts or comments on venues like the Bord Gáis Theatre only being able to hold 50 people, which is, I think, 2% of its capacity?
It's a terrible pity and not what it was designed for. Absolutely neither the Bord Gáis nor, for example, the Gaiety Theatre or indeed the Olympia. So, I mean, we know why there have been restrictions.
Okay, Philip, stand by. So this has about 4 minutes to go, and then we'll be coming to you.
Approach. I was talking to a colleague in Serbia who had a festival for 40,000 people, a music festival, and everybody was either vaccinated or tested. I know from colleagues in Spain, France, Italy, that generally the numbers are higher and the social distancing is lower. People are still wearing masks, and in some cases people have to be vaccinated or proven to be negative. But we are an outlier in that respect. One of the challenges, I think, is actually not having enough tickets, because we have so few and there is a pent-up demand that I don't think in the first iteration, in terms of what we're working with at the moment, I don't think that we will have enough tickets to fulfill that demand. Otherwise, it's just everything to do with managing live events in a pandemic. But we're on top of that. We know how to do it. We're well prepared, and we'll make sure that everybody has a safe and comfortable experience. And also, we will stop focusing on that and start thinking about why they're there, which is to see excellent premieres of Irish theatre and some international productions too. And the festival is full of fantastic new writing. Some work intended for this year, some work we've carried over from last year, but brilliant premieres of new Irish writing. That's what people can look forward to. So we'll put the hand sanitizer to one side, we'll keep our masks on, we'll be safe and secure, we'll sit down, buckle in and enjoy.
Amazing. That sounds really exciting, and I'm sure there are lots of reasons to get excited, but is there anything in particular that you're maybe most excited for? I don't want to call out your favoritism or anything.
I won't say I'm most excited for anything, but I can think of, a lot of the stuff I'm imagining what it'll be like, but I attended a run of the almost finished Night Dances by Emma Martin at Visual in Carlow recently, and it was fantastic. The score, is by Daniel Blake from Girl Band. It's really loud, really energetic, really intense, contemporary dance, commercial dancing, raving, exalting. I can't wait. And it's going to be presented in the National Stadium, a venue that we haven't used in years, if ever, which is a really apposite setting, with its legacy of boxing and music. So I'm really looking forward to that, as well as, of course, to everything else in our wonderful program for this year.
That does sound literally spectacular. And what are your hopes for the festival?
My hopes for the festival and for our sector in general are that next year, I don't think there's a back to normal, but I hope that whatever dispensation we end up in will be closer to larger numbers. And actually my long-term hope is for more big venues in Dublin. We have been going backwards for 20 years. We've lost so many theatre seats. I would like a handful of mid-scale venues of 400 seats or more. That's my hope. But I mean, our sector, we won't really know the lasting damage until the pandemic is somewhat over or winding down. But I hope that the sector can spring back, more resilient, take more care of each other, be more thoughtful, embrace sustainability, and still be the brilliant theatre artists that we know Irish practitioners are.
Janice. Okay.
The irony, of course, is that in the last year, funding has increased significantly, but unfortunately, the public have not yet had the opportunity to see the benefit of that.
Okay, 1 minute. Stand by, Philip and Janice.
Live work. So a return to that, and a city centre that is full of life and culture.
Excellent. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add that I might have missed that you think might be pertinent.
No, I just wish my lighting was as good as yours. I'm looking at you there. Mine is just through the downstairs window. We can't wait. We can't wait to be back. We're really looking forward to meeting audiences again after such a long break.
30 seconds.
The last live audience
There's a transition
we had
after
the festival
this,
was October 2019.
and then we
Remember,
come to you.
indoors. So it's been a long time, and we can't wait to see people again. And we can't wait to be in a room,
20,
witnessing, experiencing, enjoying a live performance together.
Did you want to add something, Kevin?
Let me see what my producer's saying in my ear. So
Thanks so much for joining us. I know you're
5,
very busy. We really
4,
appreciate it.
3.
No worries.
2,
Good to see you.
1.
You too.
Your mic's live.
For this evening's feature story, I am delighted to introduce Philip Doherty. Philip is a director and playwright with Irish language theatre company Fibín, who have just embarked on a residency at An Taibhdearc, Galway, and will be presenting a new show, Cogadh na Saoirse, War of Independence, at this year's Galway International Theatre Festival. Using the stunning Connemara as a backdrop, this multi-stage visual spectacle will bring the big house, the country hall, and yes, the pub, to glorious life as colourful characters share stories and perspectives on the war. It promises to be an open-air experience that is gut-wrenchingly funny and heartbreakingly sad, ambitious and surreal. They are at this very moment in time in the midst of rehearsals of what's going to be a phenomenal show. So I feel very privileged to be welcoming Philip virtually this evening. Fáilte go dtí an show, Philip, welcome to the show. We are delighted to have you with us this evening.
Hello, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. So at Dúspóir, to start us off, how are rehearsals going that I have so unceremoniously interrupted for you this evening?
No, thanks for giving me an excuse to take a break from my 24-hour rehearsal period. No, it's all going good. It's all going good. I'm at Fibín at the moment. I'm looking out at part of the set that's already built. So yeah, we're looking good. We've got a great cast. And Morgan Cook, Seamus Hughes, Rod Goodall, Siobhan O'Kelly, Isaac Hayes, Shanti O'Malley, and Julie Feeney, who's a brilliant actor, but she's also a wonderful singer and she's composing the music as well. So yeah, it's a vibrant rehearsal room at the moment.
It sounds like such a treat. And I have to mention this. I see a poster behind you there for Fiach, which I was lucky enough to go and see last year. And it was my first experience of live theatre since the pandemic started. If you want to know how I got on, check out the Theatre Maker back catalogue. I did a little video for Theatre Maker for that. So do check that out. So congratulations on that as well. It was brilliant.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks for coming all the way over.
Oh, look, I love Connemara. Any excuse to get over there. So let's take a minute before we get into Cogadh na Saoirse. I'd like to ask about your residency at An Taibhdearc. Very exciting. How's that going? Are you all settled in?
Well, we're in the settling in process. Yeah, no, it is. It's very exciting. Like An Taibhdearc is, it's such a beautiful theatre in the centre of Galway City, and we're really looking forward to making work there at the moment. So the Cogadh na Saoirse is the first collaboration was Fiach last year with Fibín and An Taibhdearc. But with Fibín sa Taibhdearc, Cogadh na Saoirse is our first show. So I guess it's our opening production. And then after that, we'll be making work out of the space. So yeah, looking forward to doing it. Looking forward to working with lots of people and creating as many opportunities as we can for people working in the Irish language, but also working in other languages and world languages as well. But yeah, it's you know, it's just such a gorgeous space that I can't wait to just be in there and making work. And we're going to be doing a little bit on the theatre on the facade and doing the facelift of that and creating a kind of hopefully a bar cafe that will be a comfortable space for people to hang out as well. So there's lots of different plans, but the main focus will be creating theatre shows and opportunities.
Oh, it just sounds heavenly. So let's get on to it then. Cogadh na Saoirse, what can you tell us about it without giving away too much, of course?
I'll give away probably everything. It's yeah, but Cogadh na Saoirse is about the War of Independence. So it's an outdoor show which we're doing here in the wilds of Connemara at Fibín. Yeah, it's quite a large scale show. it's a promenade theatre piece where the audience will be going on a journey through 14 stages, like the 14 stations of a cross, maybe. But it's a show where, you know, I wanted to kind of look at the whole panorama perspectives of the War of Independence, and the audience will be brought, I suppose, back in time into this sort of dream world. It's a very heightened theatricality to the whole thing. It's not it's not a documentary, it's not a reenactment. So we're using entertainments that were very popular at the time, entertainments like obviously Irish dance and Irish ballads and the war anthems that were sung and Irish music. You know, we've got a lot of live music in it as well that would have been popular at the time, like jug bands, and we're going to have silent movies, newsreels, fairground entertainments, and Lou Bean. There's a Lou Bean moment in it, and a Lou Bean is like an Irish language rap-off. It's like a debate in rhyme in an Irish language. So we're using all these sort of entertainments at the time to hopefully give texture and feel like the audience are in the world, a sort of heightened world of between 1918 and 1921. So yeah, it's a large scale show. So I mean, we've got a main cast, but we're also going to be working with a community cast as well. So it's just so full of talent. The people that are involved in the show musically, and Julie Feeney will be working with them and creating these big choral spectacles. So yeah, it's going great, and it's a story that's has many little stories in it, and I think hopefully we can give the audience something that I suppose by the end of it they will feel they will know how our history was created.
It sounds like an absolute playground, and I'm just standing here going, how are you going to fit all that into one show? It sounds spectacular.
Yeah, into an hour.
And 1 hour, my word. I'd say the poor audience would be flying through.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I think, you know, COVID kind of played its hands a little bit, but we did have the idea to create an outdoor spectacle for this. I think, you know, when we had the idea of doing the War of Independence because of the centenary, I definitely wanted to do as much research as I could and get as many perspectives as possible. So you've got the extreme opinions and perspectives of people on, you know, that would have joined the flying columns of the rebel movement, and then of course the black and tans coming in, but also the everyday characters that would have been working.
You can look at the monitor if you need to. I'll just
take
a tight
and also the RIC and all the little stories and that were going on. But it is a spectacle. It is a real visual show. So the sets that have been built really hopefully gives the audience a very immersive experience. So yeah, I can't wait. It is like a toy. And it is going to be quite bombastic. Like, I've never worked with a special effects guy in a theatre show before. So it is like the ultimate child's toy for some of the scenes.
A bit like all of us at the moment this year, learning new skills in the midst of the madness that we're living in. You've actually kind of brought me quite neatly to my next question, which is, have you always wanted to do something around Cúgan, around the Cúgan na Saoirse, the War of Independence, or was it just that the centenary was coming up and you're like, actually, I think I want to make a story about that?
Well, I'm kind of a little bit sort of obsessed with history. I've always loved world history and Irish history in particular. So it was something that really I was excited by the thoughts of it for a while. I've heard of a lot of great shows that were
David, are you able
around,
to tilt your camera down just a little bit so you're up near the top of the screen?
One in Ireland, something off a large scale. So yeah, once I delved into the research of it, I mean, it's just a lot of ideas and a lot of stories come when you start research, to the point where it's so hard to whittle down what really to address and where is the focus of the show going to go. But yeah, we did a show a couple of years ago called Catna Carrua, which is the Battle of Carrow, and it was very much about a rebellion that happened here in Carrow, and it was kind of the spark that lit the fire into the land war and into the land league and then into home rule and so on. So we did a show, an outdoor show with a community cast and a professional cast with it. And it was such a success and such a moving experience working with people from the community that we definitely wanted to do something on that scale again. So it's 2 years since we did that. And thankfully, I mean, I feel kind of blessed in a way that our show will work during COVID-19. It is outdoor, and it will hopefully have a great atmosphere with a large audience.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your process as a writer-director, especially once you get into the room? Where does one end and the other begin, if at all? And do you ever have to have arguments with yourself over lines?
Yeah. Constantly having arguments with myself over many topics. So, yeah, I guess the first thing, I'm a playwright number one, really. If I'm writing the script, I start off as the writer. So, yeah, I mean, you've lots of story ideas, whether you're writing for the stage or writing for screen, you've nearly a story idea, every day, but there's very few of them that kind of stay with you. And, the idea of doing this Wharf Independent show is one of them. And you have to pay attention to those things. And then when you start researching into it and going after it, it all starts to harmonize, and you start to get kind of really passionate about it and feeling alive about the subject. But when I write the script, I try and be as rigorous as possible, and when it does come to a point where you've got a rehearsal draft, I try and step away and become the director and be quite critical as a director on the script if needs be. Thankfully, the writer's still alive, so you can make some adjustments with the actors, and things do come to light in the rehearsal room that's impossible to come to light in any other way. And I always find that actors are the best dramaturgs, especially with characters. So yeah, I do have the luxury of making those snips and without asking permission from the writer. But yeah, so it's I try to separate as much as possible. But when you're writing it, I write in a very unusual way, in the sense that it's not just a script I write. I try and kind of create a mood board or a storyboard, and try and create the visuals as I write it as well. And because this is very visual, this show, I actually started off early on in creating sketches and creating a storyboard for it, a bit like a film.
Fantastic. And you've kind of touched on it already, but you've got Connemara as your set. Anybody who's been there can attest to the fact that doesn't get much more epic than the landscape of Connemara. Does that inform your work, do you think?
Well, I think so. I'm looking at it to 12 bends now, but it's yeah, absolutely. No, I think it informs your work wherever you work. Like if you're a writer, it does. It just you are subconsciously subjective, I think, on that. But particularly Connemara, it is epic, as you say. It is, the famous quote. It has a terrifying beauty. But it's also, as well as the landscape, it's the people here that are so alive, and the language they use, and the music of the area as well. Like, I mean, a lúibín, I didn't even know what a lúibín was till I came to Connemara. That's that ancient Irish language rap-off. So all those things are in a spin cycle from. And I guess the shows I have made here when you mentioned it, have been quite big and large scale and quite epic. And I guess that's no coincidence if you're responding to the space. And a lot of them have been outdoors as well. And it is an experience for people, I guess, leaving Galway City, or in your case, Dublin, and traveling across the country. And that moment when you leave, you come out of Barna and you're entering into Connemara and you see the coast and see the mountains in the distance, that's all kind of nearly part of the experience of coming out to a show here.
Absolutely. And I will say, like, one of my favourite jobs that I do in my normal year is I actually go and do some drámaíocht in a school in Cernamona. And it's my favourite job that I have nearly in the year, because I get to just go and be a Gaeilgeoir and doing drámaíocht in the wilds of Connemara, and it's absolutely stunning. So I love any excuse to go there. And anyone who understands our history as a nation knows that Gaeilge was very much a core part of our fight for independence. And in many ways, the fight for our language was inextricably linked with our fight for independence. So it seems, therefore, that it's right that you're telling this particular story as Gaeilge. Would you agree with that?
I do, to an extent. I mean, it's not only in Irish. I mean, the War of Independence did spread over the whole country, but mostly in Dublin and mostly in Cork, more so than Connemara, but it did affect the whole country. But yeah, it gives it an extra potency in this show, because a lot of the Irish civilian
David
characters
and Romy, this is the last question, so we'll be with you shortly.
Are delivering their language as Gaeilge, and when they do come across people or characters that are speaking in the English language, it gives it much more of a contrast, and it really kind of sharpens the difference. There's a scene at the end which Julie Feeney's working on with the community cast and the band, and also Catherine Young as choreographer. And it is a sort of very abstract version of what happened with the treaty. And what's happening there is this sort of a very chaotic machine gun language of the terms of the condition from the British side, and that kind of coming in, and the Irish side singing As Gaeilge. So we're using the Irish language against the English language and creating a dance and a harmony of those things coming together to represent that truce and that negotiation. So it will add an extra potency to the whole thing. But the show is bilingual, and there's many people who, many volunteers who, outside of the Gaeltacht that we're fighting for independence in it as well. So hopefully it gives a panorama of the whole war.
It certainly sounds like it does. So Kesh Dernock now, the last question. To those who might be hesitant to go to a show As Gaeilge, why should they go and see Cúige na Saoirse?
Well, it's a spectacle, and Fibín have always been a very visual, their work has always been very, very visually striking. It's a visual treat, it is a spectacle, it is bilingual, so if you don't have Irish, this will be, it is a show that is accessible to all, whether you have Irish or even don't even have English, because it is so visual. I try to tell it, using music and using that imagery as much as possible. It is an outdoor show, and I think spectacles lend themselves to the outdoor rather than it becoming a literary play. So people will understand it whether they don't have Irish or not, but if they love an outdoor experience, it's really visual, with great music, they're going to enjoy the show. And it is very much an experience that combines a lot of sort of other art forms like music and dance as well. So I think it's going to be a sort of festival atmosphere, hopefully, throughout the whole piece.
Well, I'm sold. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm definitely sold. Thank you so much for joining me today, Philip. I wish this conversation didn't have to end, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for. But before you go, can you tell our audience about any other upcoming projects that you might have going on that they can keep an eye out for?
Well, Cúige na Saoirse is on from the 27th to the 5th of September. It's in the Galway Arts Festival, the International Galway Arts Festival. But and I've got a film coming out on the 27th. I know it's a theatre platform, but Redemption of a Rogue is my first feature film, and the entire cast are actors that I've seen on stage that are in the film, and it stars the wonderful Erin Monaghan. It's called Redemption of a Rogue. So if people want to take a break from the theatre and come and go to the film, it'll be wonderful to see that. So it's released on the 27th, and it's having a national release.
Sounds fabulous, and congratulations. Well done. We've had Erin Monaghan on the show actually, and more power to him. I'm delighted. Sounds like it will be great. Thank you so much, Philip. Má tá sumagat I bhreastal Cúige na Saoirse tá ticéidí ar fáil ó www.giaf.ie. Déan cinnte iad a bookál galua nó beag díama ort. If you would like to see Cúige na Saoirse, tickets are available now from www.giaf.ie. Make sure and book early to avoid disappointment. Tá tuile ólas fí Fibín agus a chuid oibre iontach ar fáil ar a Thiamh Gréasán féin, fibín.ie, déan cinnte éilearg. There is plenty more information about Fibín and their brilliant work at fibín.ie. Be sure to check it out.
If you find value in Stage Door Live, please help us grow by letting your friends and followers know. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that follow button and give us a like. Take a moment to share this live feed with your friends and followers right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and click that bell to keep updated on our new and exclusive YouTube content. Creating live content is a costly endeavour. If you'd like to help us keep the conversations going, please hop on over to our Patreon page, where you can become a patron and gain access to exclusive patron-only content. Patreon.com/TheatreMakerIE. You can find us on most social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TheatreMakerIE. And catch additional news, blogs and sector coverage on our website, theatremaker.ie. Watch this space. There's more exciting content on the way from theatremaker.ie.
4, 3, 2, 1. Yep. Yep. Oh, Jesus. Your mic's live. Coming to you. Stand by.
I'd like to take another moment to remind you that the theatremaker.ie team needs your help to keep the conversations going. As I've already mentioned, August is our fundraising month. We've set up a special page on our website, www.theatremaker.ie, where you can pledge your support and show how important theatremaker.ie is to you. If you can't help financially right now, if you would take a moment to share our request for support with 5 of your friends, that helps too. Thanks in advance for your support. For our final segment of the evening, we would like to welcome you to The Big Debate. In this segment, we will be inviting our guests to discuss, deliberate and debate on the bigger issues, questions and possibly even a few controversies that are currently on the teacups. This week on Twitter, I put a call out for theatre makers working in languages other than English. And one name came up over and over and over again. How lucky was it that we had already booked the inimitable artist, Romy Karanias. Romy joined us on the first episode of this new Stage Door Live iteration, and now I get to say, welcome back to the show, Romy. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
I think you're muted, Romy.
Joining Romy, we are delighted to welcome back David, Afric, and of course, Philip. Falter Ash, lads, thanks for sticking around. I do hope you're ready to get stuck in. So we've one big, possibly contentious motion to debate for your viewing pleasure this evening. And please do remember to
Romy,
add your 2 cents in the comments below. We want to hear your views and opinions too. A word of warning to all, as this show is made by theatre makers for theatre makers, we have a habit of simply agreeing with each other all the time.
Can you hit refresh on your browser?
I might just play devil's advocate and take a contrary point of view, just to keep things interesting. After all, we do love a bit of draw mix, don't we? So, language in Irish theatre. The first theatre that ever existed involved people telling each other stories, expressing themselves through language. Language is so much a part of who we are, bound up in our identity, culture, and heritage, and for most of us, our primary mode of expression. However, our relationship with language can often be very complex, used to shame, divide, foster fear, and mistrust. All too often, it is perceived as the mightiest of barriers, even weaponized as such. How important is language to us?
Stand by.
Sugar. Sugar. Little packets of sugar in cafes and restaurants are fud na tíre. That's all over the country, as Gaeilge, in Irish. Little packets of sugar, and on the back a little shannuckle while you tuck into your cup on tea and your sambo. Shannuckle, old word, literally. A saying, an old piece of advice, shan leisten on 'em. Thousands of years of wisdom and wit distilled into cúpla focal and a bit of sugar. An endangered language. Our native tongue preserved on a preservative. Agus gomininic ní bhíonn istigh in a cake ho tábhachtach sa táise as they absent-mindedly rip a sugar packet and throw it straach sa cup on tea. Gan is stove cad is brílan na focal sin.
3,
na focal
2,
a dúirt ar sintric.
1, you're live.
Roxana Nic Liam there, telling us how important language is to her in her poem Shukra. Can we, humble theatre makers that we are, use our craft to flip the notion that language is a barrier entirely on its head and use it to unify rather than divide? A lofty aim, to be sure, but achievable and, dare I say, necessary. I ran a poll on my social media yesterday. Would you go to see a show in a language other than English? On Instagram, 72% said yes, while on Twitter, 79% said yes, while 17% said it would depend on the language. Interesting. Romy, is that reflective of your experience making work in other languages in this country?
I guess in a way, yes, definitely. A lot of people are interested in seeing plays that are in Spanish, in Polish, in a lot of different languages I worked with in the past, and they are not particularly maybe fluent in the language. Maybe someone they care about, they love is, maybe they are interested in the history. There are so many reasons to be open, willing, and interested to see a show in a language one doesn't understand. I remember bringing Piso 35 from Buenos Aires to the Outhouse in Dublin, and one of the people that enjoyed it the most was from China, and she couldn't follow the subtitles in English as well as the physical action, but she was just happy of the physical action with the language and loving the show, for example.
And Romy, do you think there's in your experience, is there a real appetite for that kind of work in Ireland at the moment?
No, definitely. There is a huge amount of people that are in Ireland. They are working in the countless USian companies, as I like to call them, because they're like extraterrestrial or something. But all these people are totally uncatered for. Nobody thinks about them as people that actually could enjoy culture. And time again, when there is a situation in which we reach out with a show in a language that could be, any European or non-European language, so many people are actually craving, and maybe the venues that we have access to in the past 6 years working in this area is always been limited to 50 because we couldn't afford anything bigger. So I know the pain, and there is always sold out and people really wanting to join, but maybe not being able to.
Philip, I'm going to come to you next. What do you think are the barriers that can exist for both actors and audience making work in another language, and how do you overcome that?
I think I don't see it as a barrier. I think just to talk, from my own personal experience, and Phoebe have always made work that is try to break that barrier by creating theatre that is very visual, and the story is told in a very visual way. So it doesn't become like an Irish language lesson. It's very much about the story, and it's about the characters, and about their journey, and it's about the motion of the piece. That's the sort of spectacle theatre that we make, and it's a sort of theatre that I've always kind of loved and been passionate about. But I think it's. The Irish language suits the more visual style of theatre, because it isn't exactly, it is more from an oral tradition rather than a literary tradition, the language. So it lends itself to more visual style of theatre, like European theatre possibly as well. And I think there has been a mistake in the past where we've translated English language plays into Irish. It doesn't quite work as well. But I think there is no barrier to an extent. Like, the best theatre I have seen has been in other languages like Polish and German, and I've been moved just as much, even though it hasn't been in my own language. And just to go back on that, like how important, and I think how much the visual theatre works in the Irish language. The people who go to watch a play in the English language are called an audience. So it's audio, so it's very much they're using their ears. Well, in every other language in the world, including Irish, it's spectators, and in Irish it's lucht féachana. So it's no coincidence that the theatre that's made outside of America and outside of the UK and outside of Ireland to an extent has been very visual and has been such a spectacle. So to me, I think it's very much about the you can tell a story and be moved by it, and the language is just a vehicle. It's another sound on stage for that.
Definitely. Africa, I'm going to come to you next, and I'm going to ask one of those devil's advocate questions I was talking about earlier. It can seem to be very difficult making work in another language, difficult to get audiences in, different to make the work itself potentially. Why bother?
I've loads of answers. So my own work, my own background has always been through drama facilitation, and I worked for a long time in Irish language schools and Gael schools, and actually running my own Irish language classes here in Ballymun. And one of the first things that I realized when I did that is a lot of young children would say to me, I go into their Gael school and they'd be like, can we do this in English? Can we do this in English? And they saw Irish as very much a school subject and not a language and not something that's alive. And so they did see it as a barrier to creativity. The minute we started showing them how easy it is to actually use Irish and take that pressure of perfect grammar, perfect language, let a little bit of Berlicus slip in, they began to really enjoy the language and they began to see it not as that barrier to creativity. So having creative content in the language is what keeps it alive. But on another element, once those children go into a theatre and they see that language represented on the stage, that sparks something in them. Like, a language is dead until we bring it to life, and putting it on the stage is one of the best ways to do that. So from a very, very early age, I think it's really important that children see their own language reflected on stage. And I'm not just talking about Irish language and English language work. Like, Polish is now the second most spoken language in Ireland. So it might be time that we start putting the Polish language up there, because we talked a lot about this recently when we had Polish language workshops here in Axis with the fabulous Riverbank and with Superpower. But those children who are, say, second generation or third generation Polish, they might learn Polish on a Saturday morning. They're going to have the exact same attitude that a lot of children have right now to learning Irish. It's not interesting, it's another subject. This is a way to bring that alive and create that creativity again. And it's going to keep happening because Ireland is becoming a more multicultural place. And all of those children need to see their own culture, their own language reflected on the stage. They need to see themselves up there. It is about representation, but it's also about inspiring them to keep their languages alive. It's not just a battle for one language. It's a battle for every language, because if we let one go, we may as well let them all go.
Certainly, and I'm just going to pick on something that you said there, and it connects to something that Philip said previously, that you can find expressions in one language that don't even exist in another language. So having that space to be able to express yourself in your own language or in another language, you can find new and brilliant things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, I think when people say to me, why is the Irish language important? When you say that, I actually hear, why is language important? Why is any language? Like, why should we have poetry? Poetry is just words on paper. Theatre, it's just stories that we're saying, but that's all language. And if we just want to get down into communicating, we can do, but that's not what we are as people, and that's why the arts is important. So if you let go of one language, if you say that Irish isn't important, I feel like you're saying every language isn't important. We may as well just all vote and have one. What's the point? But no, it is all those little differences. And it impacts the way we speak English, and the way we speak English impacts the way we speak Irish or Polish or whatever. So many of us say, you know, I to be going down to the shops, you to be. That's all because our brains are still a little bit wired in Irish, you know?
Absolutely. David, I'm going to come to you next. So, like, obviously Gaeilge is very much rooted in our own heritage and culture, and there is a definite clear path for making that kind of work when it comes to programming. What about when it comes to programming work in other languages? Africa already mentioned Superpower, and I know Romy's involved with the Mother Tongues Festival. What is the path? Are people taking it to programming other language, theatre in other languages?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing, I'm definitely seeing an increase in, through the work of like Mother Tongues Festival, of works focusing on, or festivals and venues focusing on languages, as other languages as part of their program. I mean, down here in visual, I was, when I arrived, I had never been exposed to the Irish language in the way that I have down here, which has been really amazing. Like Laura Carlock and Vivine is one of our annual theatre programming staples, and it's just been amazing. Like we have worked with communities, and we find actually that in accessing in programming, where it starts for us is actually engaging on a community level with members of the community, maybe the Polish community, Rohingya community, and looking at developing programs and projects that are kind of led from the ground up, and maybe that can form an underbelly to creating a work that's then presented maybe at the end of a program. And that's kind of the direction we're taking. And it's still a new domain for us as well. It's we have the Oscuelga, and that's very solid in our program, but we've a lot more work to do in terms of bringing other languages and other theatre works with other languages in. But from my own experience, like it's like what Philip said. You can't look at language in isolation when it comes to theatre. I absolutely adore going to opera. I know there's surtitles. That's in a different language. I know it's not spoken word theatre, but I know what's going on. I can read the stage, I can read the visual language, I can read the form, I can guess the narrative, and it's so beautiful to watch, and it's so beautiful to get wrong and be immersed in a piece and to get lost and not really know what's going on, and then cling on to something, and then you walk away, and then you're thinking, you say to your friend, oh, did you see how that story was going on? And they're like, no, that wasn't what was going on. And, you have this debate about what was happening, and that's beautiful as well, So sometimes being lost in a work where you don't understand the language is an amazing experience. And I think we need to be seeing more of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of touching on that and harking back to something that Afric said about representation in terms of the words, just not the visual as well. Romy, do you think that the powers that be could be doing more to support the creation of this kind of work, be that through funding or exposure, or is it on all of us makers just to kind of have that awareness and be welcoming to this kind of work?
Well, I personally don't think the powers that be anywhere at the top are looking down and thinking, what can I do to make things better? Things need to start to get better from the bottom up. This is my perception. And definitely what I see, and I have to say, I'm very more and more that the few plays that are able to come out, they are monocultural.
2 of our guests are from more rural areas.
Populated by people that only have English as the first language. And I'm not even talking about performers or things like this, but I wonder, even on the designing aspect or any sort of things, when you read the names, there's no Asian family names, there's no Eastern European family names, there's no African family names. Well, unless obviously there is the need for a token person in that context. I don't want to say it's all like this, but you call me here and you know that I talk this way and make people realize, for example, I worked with Tura recently. He speaks Irish and he's originally from Zimbabwe, and he sings and dances, and him as an artist, for example, is someone that I think of when I think about Philip's work and wonder, how do we make sure that artists that are living in Ireland, because a lot of time when we're talking about diversity, then we go and find someone amazing and fantastic in another country to come and show us what you do there. But there is hundreds of artists and more in Ireland that are struggling to be included, be seen, and the center of the issue that I noticed that is connected to language and accenteism, and the fact that someone with an accent is not heard in the same way if the accent comes from Spain, Italy, or if it comes from the US or New Zealand, for example, But I guess what I'm saying with all this is that cross-cultural collaboration, in my opinion, is an issue in Irish theatre. And everybody can do something to make it better. Everyone can say, okay, I'm not going to allow a full production that is only made of one type of person to be time and time again portrayed. And productions that celebrate the mix of cultures which is actually present in Ireland, that get a little bit more airtime, a little bit more space, a little bit more visibility. Practitioners are, struggling to stay in the country with all the situation, but at the same time, seeing that there is an interest, but we can't wait someone somewhere else to do something. It's up to us, and me first. And coming here today is one of the things I like to put up. Please get in touch with us at Rather Gather, Mother Tongues, and everything. Like artists from other backgrounds with other languages can only enrich the communication and the visuals and the ability of making new work that is truly a fusion, that is unique.
I didn't catch that.
Apologies. I think that was my Siri telling me that I'm speaking too much.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's absolutely fantastic, Romy. This is exactly why we invited you here this evening. Romy, I'm going to stick with you for a moment. Do you think that in Irish theatre, just building off what you said there, that even though we talk about championing diversity and that we're trying to be as diverse as possible, we're actually doing that within a very narrow frame, and that we really need to be more open to having someone with a particular accent on a stage regardless? Do you think we're too concerned with having that kind of westernized view of British or American view of what theatre should be, rather than kind of just throwing open the doors and seeing, see what happens?
I feel like there is an issue of trust. There is an issue of us and them, which is an amygdala issue. You know, it's something that is totally subconscious, but we notice how time and time again, you know, for example, I was part of the Next Stage with Dublin Theatre Festival in 2019. Over 40% of the play came from the UK. So if that is not cultural, how can I say now? I can't think of that word right now. A cultural post-colonial appreciation of someone that has colonized Ireland for so long, but we want to get them to come and show us more. Like 40% is so much when it's an international theatre festival, for example. And when it comes to, for example, Electric Picnic, we've been talking a lot about Electric Picnic. There was this ghetto, was a physical ghetto made in the last Electric Picnic. I don't know if you remember this favela, and it was terrifying how very few people from other countries were involved, although there are people like us, arts workers, festival workers, we've been over 10 years involved, but nobody contacted us. Other Irish people or other people from other sides have been contacted to get in contact and to get in contact. And then the power, the trickle-down effect of what you're actually putting on culturally, you know, there was maybe, I eventually met the Irish guy that did a playlist for the area. I was totally uninformed of what is the actual diversity of people that have been part of this landscape for an incredible amount of years. And I'm sorry, but sometimes there is the rhetoric coming back and back again of like, now Ireland is becoming, Ireland has been this for so long, for so many years, and it's time that we realize that our plays about the African doctor coming to study in Ireland in the 1800s. We didn't get African people yesterday, you know, and so when it comes to Polish people and people from all type of backgrounds as well, we tend to see them as, okay, the Polish actor, this and this, and we don't consider intersectionality and the fact that more and more people maybe have the father from there and the mother from there, and they grew up there, and this is richness, and this is beautiful, and we need to get involved with more people that have this background, because they're not bringing, okay, maybe they have a difficult accent, they move their hands a lot when they speak, or they can be a bit scary because they converse in a different way, but so it brings richness to the work, for sure.
Certainly, I mean, we're all guilty of laughing when we're watching, you know, an American documentary or something, and they have the Irish person on, and they put up the subtitles, and we all mock the Americans for that, but actually we're quite guilty of that at times ourselves. Philip, I'm going to come to you now, and there are those in the world who are fiercely protective of their language, especially when they're coming to a new country, or even just of their own protectiveness of their own heritage and place. And they seek to preserve that language at all costs, quite often, you know, refusing to allow things like surtitles and that kind of thing at shows. Is that something that you've experienced? Do you think there's a place for that? And is it helpful, do you think, or really, really not helpful?
That way they can talk behind the scenes.
Well, I think you want to make it accessible to the audience, definitely. So it can be helpful, definitely.
That way they can talk behind the scenes when we're not live.
If you're confused as an audience member of what's going on and the story, it's very hard for you to emotionally connect with the characters of the story. So to make it quite clear, you're going to connect with that character, and you're going to be rooting for them or on their journey. So I think making it accessible is a very positive thing. The surtitles, though, is a good question. And I mean, the Phoebine work is so visual, it doesn't necessarily need surtitles for every word or for everything. It depends on the show. But if it's a very literary play in another language, maybe it does need the surtitles. And there'll be some language plays we will be working at in the future, and hopefully finding a creative way to present them subtitles within the design of the show, and to make it not a hindrance that you're reading a subtitle and trying to watch a play at the same time. It's very much
is that a little better?
Let
me know. I'm peeking on this side.
Experience. That's my reading on it. That actually it shouldn't take away that it could be part of the whole thing. So yeah, I am for it because I want people to enjoy the experience and to escape into the world of the show.
Certainly. Yeah, no, so really you're basically saying it kind of depends really on what you're making, and I am inclined to agree with you there. And I know for myself, even when I do see shows, like even when it's Oscuelga and I speak Irish, I will find myself reading the subtitles instead of watching the action. And no, stop reading. What are you doing? You know what they're saying. So yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there that if there are creative ways that you can make the story clear to the audience, then that is what you should do. David, we've been talking a lot about spoken language this evening, but what about non-verbal languages? Irish Sign Language, for example, a language equally rooted in our heritage and culture, and no less important. Where does that sit at this table of work in other languages? Do we need to make more space for it?
Absolutely. And do you know what? I've always had an affinity. I think that's why I lean towards dance in terms of the art forms that I enjoy, is because they're non-verbal, and sometimes the words can, for me, get in the way of what's happening. And I love non-verbal theatre. But we commissioned a work last year and I know it wasn't theatre, maybe you could say it was theatre and film, probably wasn't that either, with Amanda Coogan and the Irish Theatre for the Deaf. And it was absolutely, it was such a beautiful piece, and
it was
more
the beginning of
emotion,
the show.
There was more read,
takes all of my brain, especially when guests are joining.
In that piece, it was
we had a guest join a little late today as well, so I had to bring that guest on.
It's been spoken and
we were very behind schedule generally.
I think, first off, representation,
so
I don't think we're there at all in terms of the sign language. I don't know much about Irish Sign Language, but in terms of signing, and there's definitely more work to be done. And
Can you give another question to Africa?
We're not seeing it as much as we need to see it, and we're not being exposed to it, and we just need more of that.
Absolutely. Africa, I'm going to come to you on a similar thing, because you mentioned Superpower earlier, and I know that they're currently working on a piece called Love, which is based on Irish Sign Language, and I'm very excited to see what they do with that. Do you feel the same when it comes to things like that, like representation in terms of other forms of expression other than spoken?
Absolutely, and I suppose it goes back to that people have to be able to see themselves on that stage. If we want more artists with disabilities, more people who speak Irish Sign Language to pursue careers in the arts, they have to see from the beginning that that's an achievable thing to do. So it starts at the bottom. Absolutely, and I do think we can always do better, and we can all continue to do better. So the more that we see this work created, the more that we see it programmed, the better it is.
Brilliant. One final question, and I'm going to go around and ask everybody this, just to end on. I'm an absolute nerd when it comes to words. I love their meaning, etymology, and so on, finding out where they come from. I personally find great joy in discovering links between my words and words spoken thousands of miles away from people I never met. I find it a really comforting, unifying, connective thing that stretches across geography, but also stretches back through time. What for you, and I'll start with you, Afric, right beside me, what for you is the joy of language?
Interesting. I do love etymology. I love when words are what they say. Like, I did enjoy what Philip said earlier on about Luchtfekene being the audience, and it literally is like a crowd of lookers, like that gang over there looking at us. So I do enjoy, as you said, the etymology of words, but I love
hope you had a good appointment, Joseph.
I love hearing language.
You came just in time for the end of the show.
I love, if we look back to, you started off with Roxana Nicliam's Shukra. I think that's just so beautiful and such a lovely piece that touches on what words are, what they mean to us, and what language means to us. So I love that. I've also really been enjoying, I don't know if anybody is following Kieran EA on TikTok. But what she has been doing just to make Irish more accessible, but also fun, has been brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed that.
Absolutely. We had an entire discussion about her TikTok earlier, the Theatre Maker team, and some of the stuff that she's been putting up, and even teaching me a Gaeilgeoir things about Irish that I had no idea. She's glorious. I would check her out on TikTok. Definitely. David, the same question to you. What for you is the joy of language?
As I've got older, I mean, it's really personal for me. I had huge issues with language growing up, with the English language. I was very much a visual child in terms of how I understood and communicated with the world when I was younger. And so I had a very complex relationship with language. And as I got older, as I'm getting older,
you should reschedule your trainer.
Really embracing the power of
just
language,
like you rescheduled your shows.
My own voice and the words that I can say and the meaning that they have. So that's really, like, for me personally, that's really great. And so more words, more power. But also, there's time for no words, and I like that. I like those times as well.
Brilliant. Philip, same question to you.
It's a big question. Well, I mean, language. Yeah, I love the sound of different words. It's just they just kind of, when you hear a word, you love the kind of the texture of it and the sound of it. It kind of like, I mean, I got my second jab today, so I was going around telling everybody I was inoculated, just because I love the word inoculate and the sound of it. But yeah, that comes first. But language has the power to create the most beautiful imagery, and that's what the power of poetry. It comes from language, so it combines all those things, and you can have onomatopoeic language, but for its power to create imagery, but also to have so much play with it as well. And seeing the difference between other languages is kind of beautiful as well. I mean, like in English, when you get the sun, you've got a freckle, but they have a different word for it in Irish, Pódíní Gréine, which is kisses from the sun, which is just so more beautiful, much more beautiful and poetic. I think that kind of represents the differences in some languages as well.
I'm going to pick you up on that, because one of my favourite words in Irish is smugglerone, which is the Irish for jellyfish. And for those of you who don't know, it literally means seal snot. And I just think that is beautifully expressive. Romy, same question to you. What's the joy of language for you?
Well, I am definitely an addict of languages. I speak 5 kind of fluently, because then what happens is the more you speak, the more I kind of put together bits from different languages and make my own, because you can have all these figures of speech, all these little dialects and accents, and you can really find new way to express yourself, even poetically or as a playwright. I really like the mix and how different sounds, you don't even need to know what it means. But if right now I'm going to say something to you like ¿por qué carajo me haces eso? It's clear. You don't need to know what it means. And it needs to happen in that language for that kind of vibe and another language. So I think for me the best part is like a dance, and it takes your body and it takes even your voice in different parts. You embody text through different languages in different ways, and then the stories you can get from people that otherwise maybe you wouldn't be able to communicate with when you travel and things like this. Also, maybe you don't speak their language, but when you speak a few, you get different way to kind of like mix and match, and some words is like a jigsaw, because this word is similar to French and this to that, and languages, they're amazing, all of them.
It's great, and I'm really, really sad that I have to finish now. I feel like I could talk about this for hours. And I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the discussion around language in theatre, especially in Ireland, it's far from over. We need to do more, we need to do better all the time, and we need to make sure that we are letting people's voices be heard. But before we go, really super quickly, what is your next project? Where can people find out more about you? Africa, I'll come to you first. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Well, Access is going to be announcing shortly that we are having a series of outdoor events. So keep an eye on accessballymun.ie, and we have 3 shows that we'll be hosting as part of Dublin Theatre Festival. So if you haven't already looked at their website, do have a look. And there's a bit of stuff happening in Axis, so come out to us.
Very exciting. David, what would you like to plug?
Yeah, so Visual have their live performance program, the theatre program, launching later in the year, which is super exciting. They have Collapsing Horse. Collapsing Horse, a very old man with enormous wings, coming. God, there's loads. Just keep an eye on the website. It's all very exciting.
Fantastic. Philip, would you like to remind people about that very exciting film you've got coming up?
Oh, yeah, why not? Yeah, it's a film. Redemption of a Rogue is out on the 27th of August. It's a film starring the wonderful theatre actor Aaron Monaghan, and it's in cinemas nationwide. And Cógan na Saoirse, of course. Phoebe's show is in the Arts Festival from the 27th. The same night, my whole career's in a balance within 24 hours on the 27th of August. And also I look forward to later on in the year, keep an eye out for Phoebe and Tyvark's first programme of events.
I have to mute them all.
Fantastic. You'll be a nervous wreck on the night of the 27th. I hope you've got somebody on standby to give you a hug if you need it.
Oh, yeah.
Romy, what about you? What would you like to plug before we go?
Well, just because it's relevant to what we were talking today, I'd like for you to check out, you can still write Movimiento about Mother Tongues Festival, and it's a video we made with Irish sign language and Spanish and a lot of languages and movement. But for the next coming up, it's all very secret. You can follow Rather Gather on Instagram, Facebook, and our website as well is putting on a very interesting directory. Anybody can join, and then there is no excuses to say, I don't find actors or performers or musicians from such and such or with such and such skill or language. They're all written up there as well, and please join us. We can't compete against each other because we want everybody to succeed. So that's our aim, and getting Rather Gather.
Fantastic, Romy. You're such a doer. I love it. More power to you. Thank you so much to all our guests for joining us this evening. Afric, David, Philip and Romy. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you all. I do hope you'll come back again soon. Tír gan teanga, tír gan anam. So said Padraig Pearse, one of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising. A country without a language is a country without a soul. A statement that has come under fire on occasion over the years, but nonetheless, there's no question that the history of our native language is inherently bound up in the political, economic, and of course, cultural history of our nation. Whether we like it or not, whether we realise it or not, it is deeply rooted in our traditions and inextricably linked to our everyday expressions. Smithereens, meaning small pieces. An English word, yes? No. It actually derives from the Irish word smithereenie. If you don't believe me, look it up. The very way we Irish people phrase our sentences, our Hiberno English, is directly derived from the way our ancestors spoke Irish. Knowing as we do then, even if we don't all speak it fluently or even use more than the cúpla focal when we're abroad on holiday, we've all been guilty of that one. How important our language is to our traditions, our history, our identity, our expression. Why then is it so difficult for us to allow the expression of other languages, identities, traditions that live here to live and grow on our stages? It's a very easy argument to make that maintaining the Irish language within Ireland is essential and necessary. However, for a nation that spent most of its history knocking on the doors of other countries, we've not been the most welcoming place to those who've knocked on our door. We live in an Ireland that is becoming more multicultural by the day, and that's a wonderful thing. It's an opportunity to enrich our world, to learn and share and celebrate different cultures, voices, traditions. We champion diverse voices in theatre, but only so much as they do it through our lens, in our language. They must adapt their expression to suit our eyes and ears. They must make it comfortable for us, because how else would we understand it? Yet how much richer would the experience be for audience and performer if they were telling their story their way? We've talked a lot about words, but there are so many ways we can tell stories other than words. It is visual, it is physical, it is aural, it is creating new devices and mechanisms to communicate. It's a feeling, an atmosphere, a human connection. We all come from somewhere, and we should all be able to express ourselves and tell our stories our way. Our stages will be so much richer for it. If we truly believe that theatre can change the world one stage at a time, we have to start being even more accepting of diverse works on our stages. The projects we show the world are the seeds that change the world. So the next time that you see a show advertised that might be in Gaeilge or Polish or French or Spanish or in sign language or told through pictures or movement, give it a chance. After all, Ská Céile war in the Dina. One final seanachal there I couldn't resist. It means we need each other. That's it from us at Theatre Maker at the Axis Media Hub in Ballymun. Thanks to Axis and Dublin City Council for making our programming possible. We'll see you on Monday for Irish Theatre This Week and 2 weeks from today for Stage Door Live. Thank you and good night. Ihawa agus fan slán.
You're clear? Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Romy. Thanks for coming back a second time. I think you're the first person who's come back twice this season, this year. Yeah, I think so, maybe. I can't hear you. She's refreshing, I think. Thanks, David. Ah, now we hear you. We took away your voice. The technology took away your voice. I'm sorry. No, honestly, we love it because you speak the truth, and like that's what we want. We want people who will speak the truth. A lot of people are so afraid to say what they really feel, and no, we love that about you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another type of language is like being blunt and being honest. Like in Ireland, the under the parapet and it's like, oh great, gorgeous, and then behind the back
I totally agree.
Can they see me? Can they hear me? Hey guys, can you hear me? No, I don't think they can. Oh, hi guys, it's Janice, sorry. Listen, thanks a million for this evening. That was a great chat. Didn't catch it. What did you say? Yeah. I know, yeah. And then I'm asking you, so David, what do you need to plug? And like going in my head going, I already know the answer to this. This is hilarious. Sure, look at. Oh, thanks very much. No, I'm delighted to have you on. You were great guests now, in fairness. Brilliant chats. Thanks, Romy. Bye. Bye, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow, David. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Yeah, so the news editor slide wasn't there twice. In fact, I replayed the credits. I went to go hit to pull up my this graphic, and I forgot that I need to do it as an overlay when I'm playing the credits. So I screwed up. So I played it twice just to get that graphic up. Oh well. Janice Peter, Amazing Peter Gaming says hello. Great show. Where is my microphone? Oh, there it is. Here. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Hi.
Yeah, so my mom decided not to come. So it's just my dad. But it was great to see him this morning before I came into work. I got up and we met in the city center, which was really cool. Yeah, it's literally been 2 years, so it was nice to see them, or him. Yeah, so this is a tough show, especially we seem to never be on time with this show, with getting it ready to go. We've gotten everything down as far as the planning and the prep and the pre-production and getting the script done and getting all the graphics done for Irish Theatre this week. But this one literally is always getting done last minute, and then I have guests coming in as I'm still downloading graphics. Yeah, so it's a rough one. Yeah, so Peter, I finished my degree, my MFA 2 years ago, and I was supposed to graduate last April. They do the graduation like 6 months after, unlike America where you can graduate even if you don't have even if you don't know if you're definitely going to graduate. Here they make you wait. They actually, in fact, like what is it, like 3 or 4 months after the term ends, they actually meet to give you your final grades, and then a few months after that you finally graduate. Well, April we were shut down, so I had to wait to graduate, unfortunately. But I am graduating on Friday, and my dad said there's no way in hell that I'm missing that, so he flew over here, which is pretty cool. Just how was the training session? Anything I can show you guys today? see anything cool that you liked? It's all the same stuff. But yeah, so we have the capability with this show to bring in up to 8 guests. The vMix license that allows us to bring in 8 guests. And then we have. Yes, I did just start music. Is it too loud for you? Let me look. Oh, my volume is pretty low. You're right. If I don't talk loud. Yeah, I started music locally on my streaming system. Yeah, I'll bring it down a little bit. Yeah, that's weird. The signal that's going out to you over NDI to my streaming computer for my stream, it's a lot less than the level that it is on the main system. Ooh. Oh, I wonder. Cool. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So we're actually looking. So when we move to the new space, we'll still have access to this space as well. We're thinking about maybe doing the news from the space upstairs and then only doing Janice downstairs. Janice and the external guests. That will also allow us possibly to have more than 2 people in that space. So we could do them kind of in the round and still maintain social distancing, which we hope will eventually disappear. But yeah, we might be able to have more people in the studio. Right now we're literally limited to one other person in the studio just because of social distancing and the way we have the space set up. But if we move the news show up, the news part of the show upstairs in the other space where our control room will be, might be interesting to see how that works. But we'll also probably have to have a floor manager to handle the stuff in the studio down here. We will see. What is that?
Alive. I was just looking this down. This is all going out live, myself and Michal's conversation.
No, tomorrow we'll cut it off. Good job. You said we were live. Social distancing is a real world limitation. It really is. It really is. Our original design for the studio, actually, we used a large table, and then we were able to have 4 people in space, 4 people plus the host in the space. And we cut that, obviously, because that wasn't going to happen. But yeah. Any other questions? So I'm hoping to redesign this show soon.
Our conversation before the show started is when it was going out live.
I hope you're saying good things.
We were talking about doing the show, like.
Oh, cool.
If you cut it now. No, don't. I can't remember what we were talking about. We were all having difficulty with the years, and then we were talking about concert and.
Yeah, I made some mistakes today. We were very last minute with everything.
How was it so last minute? How did that happen?
Because, like, graphics weren't done. Graphics were being finished 10 minutes. Like, when I went for my last smoke break, graphics were still being finished. Even though it was said that they were done.
Yeah. I was given yeah, like by about 4.
Yeah.
And then they turned on.
Yeah, stuff just wasn't done in time.
Okay, well, I am going home.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to redesign this show, and then I'm working on redesigning Irish Theatre this week. So this show is going to take probably about a month hiatus because Janice has too much work coming up in September. Yes. So no, it will be back. Stream RIP. Wait, my stream? My stream's RIP. What's RIP?
Nice, goodbye. Bye, Kevin. I will see you on Friday. I might be here on Friday for the meeting because I'm bringing my sister to the airport.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
I guess I should be here. Oh, I will be. Wait, Friday?
Wait,
Yes,
don't you have your
I will be
graduation
here.
on Friday?
My graduation's in the morning, but then I have a client here in the afternoon, like 5 o'clock. I have a show.
Did you not take the day off? It's your
I
graduation.
couldn't.
You're a dope. I mean, you're a brilliant dope, but you're a dope. Anyway, I'll see you Friday. And enjoy your graduation, and congratulations.
See you
You're
Friday.
graduating as well? Oh, okay. Anyway, bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. See ya. Thanks.
See ya.
Sorry, I don't know why my stream buffered. Abby probably did something. She turned off NDI. That's what she did. Right? Did you turn off NDI?
Well, I mean, still running.
But it doesn't have a source anymore. That's why. NDI is giving us problems on our network. Yeah. Have I really been streaming for 2 hours and 41 minutes? Holy shit. Wow. Yeah, the show was long, wasn't it? It's 9:13 already. Wait a sec. So Twitch is saying Kevin Ricklereid is streaming, but I don't see any pictures. I blame Abby. I always blame Abby. Well, unfortunately, Peter, what's going to happen is we're going to have to count on NDI. Hashtag blame Abby, yes.
Finally famous.
We're going to have to count on NDI when we move to our space upstairs because we don't think we're going to be able to run cables, so we're going to have to use the existing Ethernet infrastructure. And then we're also going to run Dante for audio. So yeah, I need to figure out how to get NDI to work properly for at least 3 cameras in this studio, probably 4 in the downstairs studio when we're broadcasting from upstairs. All the cameras upstairs will be wired because I might as well. I have all the gear to do it with SDI. I know, it sucks. I don't totally trust NDI. NDI 5 was supposedly better. The PTZs that we use have NDI HX. So it is low bandwidth. It's not as good quality. Did I say? Yeah, HX. But I'm putting on KMR cam with not screen capture program. There we go. So yeah, our PTZs do have NDI HX. Dante's audio. So, well, we're hoping we can get the Dante. It's H.265, yeah. You know, I'm also noticing that there's some skipping on one of our cameras. I don't know if it's on the feed that's going out. I'm noticing some weird issues today in here. I need to restart. I needed to restart my system today, but I noticed overnight an update installed. So I couldn't restart my system until I make it so the update doesn't install, because I don't trust Windows updates immediately after they come out. Did you ever see the slider, Peter? That's the wide cam. Yeah, and they always come at the wrong time. Like, why did it come on a show day? That's using a kit lens. It just sits there and goes back and forth all day long. You can see our current cable problems too. We couldn't put any holes in the wall. So that door, if you turn right and then take another quick right, yes, you do recognize that slider. If you take another quick right, you'll be in the control room. I promise, I will do a stream. So that's audio, an audio snake. Yeah, I like it. I like the slider. So yeah, our cable management system here is a bit of a mess. It's a good slider. Does a good job. What else about this space? What can I show you with the PTZ? Yeah, so this, I don't know if you noticed the delay in the wide shot, but this TV, actually, can I see it? Can I see it? No, you can't see it.
You want me to go pull it out?
If you want to.
What are we looking at?
Oh wait, is that it? No, that's the power supply.
What are you trying to look at?
The
Raspberry Pi?
The Raspberry Pi. Yeah, so that TV is getting its feed via a Raspberry Pi, which is getting its feed from NDI, from vMix. Abby is gonna pull out the little Raspberry Pi. Maybe. It might actually be accessible. Well. Oh, now you see it. Yeah, there it is. See? There's the Raspberry Pi. The reason we don't use that system for TalkBack is because this system runs on SDI, like for our virtual guests. So I send our virtual guests to that one because it has less of a delay, because the NDI delay in here is absolutely horrible. I don't know. Let's see. Actually, if I switch to camera 4. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to do something. I'm going to tell you when I push the button to change the graphic on that screen. Is there another way I can show you this? Actually, I can show you with the 4 up. Right? 4 up. That's not the 4 up. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to tell you when I change the button and then watch how long the delay is. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Did you see that delay? I'm going to change it again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. See how long it takes for it to change? And that's because it's over NDI. I guess part of it is vMix. You know, there is a delay from vMix. And we know that there's more processing that happens with NDI. And SDI, because it's done on the output card, we have Decklink Quad 2 in the main vMix system. Because of that, it's a lot less of a delay. Wait, what am I doing? Okay, camera 4. If I go to camera 4 and then show you this system, watch this. So right now it's on the logo. Ready? I'm gonna do it on this. 1, 2, 3, go. It's almost immediately. There's like a few milliseconds of delay on that SDI feed to that system. 1, 2, 3, go. It's like so minimal. But one of the other things we notice is it's literally almost instant. So, and then the other thing is the teleprompter. Both there's 2. There's one on each side. The teleprompters run on NDI as well. I could wire them technically and make them go over SDI. I just haven't done it because I'm lazy. So the teleprompter is actually a couple lines behind where Abby is in scrolling up. So when you see me going, well, you can't see me. Oh yeah, I have the 4 screen up. When you see me going like this to Abby, that means you're too damn slow.
Hashtag lame Abby.
Hashtag lame Abby. SDI is like HDMI, right? Yeah, essentially. But SDI, you can go much further. HDMI technically has a limit of 15 feet or 5 meters. but SDI natively can go 100 meters, which is about 300 feet. And it's a professional, like HDMI is a consumer technology, SDI is a professional video technology. It's been around forever, since the dawn of time. Now, obviously, HDMI, you can go further with some of the newer cables that they're doing. There's also fiber optic HDMI cable. But yeah, it's still a consumer technology. I use SDI or HDMI as little as possible. At the end of the signal chain, maybe. Obviously, this is gonna. Wow! I saw it jump. Did you see that? Did you see it jump, or is it lying to me? Yeah, it keeps jumping. That's weird. Something's going on. So that system with the Raspberry Pi, it doesn't turn into HDMI until the end of the chain, and then on this system, it's SDI until almost the end of the chain, and then I have a SDI to HDMI converter going into the system. Well, it's fun, and you can use all this stuff, for your Twitch streams, for any stream. Why does it keep jumping when I'm moving it? Do you see that? I definitely see that. I don't know if you can see any of the cabling back there, but so these cameras do have NDI on them. I only use NDI, the Ethernet, to control them. They're SD. Yeah, I don't know why. I noticed it during the show a little bit too. It's something having to do with this system. So it is also 10,000 degrees in here right now. So it may be just that the system's overheating. But like if you look at my system resources, 50 frames per second, 9 millisecond render time, 16% GPU, 6% CPU. I'm not really using the system, so I have to have a look at that. Yeah, it's weird. And it's doing it, if I look at, there's a little jump in the now I don't know if that is the stream going over. No, so I'm not seeing it on the program feed. So that is jumping. We do need AC, but we're in the basement. There's like no way to get it. And a lot of Irish buildings don't have it. We have heat. That's weird. I need to look at that. Is it just that camera? Yeah, it is. It is just that camera. What's that say? Oh, it's gonna turn off. Our TVs have a 3-hour limit or something like that. Yeah, it's just that camera. I'm gonna have to take a look at it. Oop, no, I saw a jump. Can I show you anything else that's here? Oh, look at that. So back behind the TV, or the monitor. Yeah, there's jump there too. So it's something having to do with the computer, I think. Oh well. Oops. That's what it's for, right? Oh. TV wants to go home, that's what that is. The TV is saying, no, please let me go. Cool. Well, I have been up since early, so I think I'm going to call it quits. Thank you for joining me. I can't even tell how many people are here. I think it's just Peter and Joseph at this point. It's a live show, a long live show. We're now at 2 hours and 54 minutes. Yeah, I will. We're going to try to do something tomorrow. Oh, dude, I love geeking out over this stuff. It's so much fun figuring it out, like figuring out the plan and then getting the gear and then, finally using the gear. Absolutely, it's amazing. And like the way technology is changing and new things are becoming possible, and you can now send what used to be a 100 megabit video signal over 4 to 5 megabits. I think that's crazy with NB-IHX. Obviously it's compressed a bit, but who cares? You know, for internet streaming, we don't need 100 megabit signals. We're compressing them down to 6 megabits anyways. So, yeah. Yeah, so me and my dad are going to try to do something tomorrow together. We decided we're going to go, we're going to rent a car for Saturday and Sunday. And he really wants to drive to Kerry, which is 5 hours away. But I guess that's what we're doing. Yeah, so we'll wake up early in the morning on Saturday, drive 5 hours, hang out, we'll stay overnight in a hotel somewhere. If we can find one, hopefully we'll find one. And then we'll drive back either Sunday night or early Monday morning, because I have to stream Monday night. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll be around the next few days. My dad's here till Wednesday, so I'm hoping maybe Tuesday of next week I'll spend the day with him as well. Like I said, I'll probably be streaming on Friday. While I'm doing my other stream, but it will be most likely unlisted. So if you want to watch it, inbox me, or I'll post it in the guild if you're in the guild. Cool. Thanks everybody. I'll see you soon. Have a good night.